Years ago, Ayelet entered the justice ministry with a storm, but has since succeeded in quietly leading something of a legal revolution in Israel. Please join me in welcoming Israel's Minister of Justice, Ayelet, who will be interviewed on stage by our very own Steve Lindy.
Welcome to Justice Minister Ayelet, and you built up a reputation as a straight shooter, so I'm going to cut to the chase without relating to what President Trump will or won't say. What is your position on the recognition of Jerusalem and the move of the embassy from Tel Aviv?
Let's wait for the evening, but I can tell you that I think it's the victory of the American people and the American spirit. I just read paragraph from a book of Chaim Weizmann, and he's talking about how he convinced Balfour to do the Balfour Declaration. So he said to Balfour, what do you feel if I would offer you to change London in Paris? So Balfour told Chaim Weizmann, but Dr. Weizmann, London is ours. So Balfour told him, Jerusalem was ours when London was a swampland. And after that, of course, we know the rest of the story. So we're all very excited, but let's wait and see.
How, though, do you see a solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict?
Now we want the solution. I think that as we heard Minister Bennett before, this is a very complicated conflict. I don't think there is a right-away solution in the current future. From what we saw, withdrawal is not a solution. We saw it in Gaza. We got only terror. I think there is opportunity for the Palestinian Authority to invest, gather the energy in the international community and invest in industrial zone, in infrastructure, to boost the Palestinian economy. This is something that is realistic. I don't think that in the current years there will be a solution.
As a woman member of the Security Cabinet, and you're in a very special situation, what do you see as the biggest security threat to Israel?
We have a few threats, but I will say that the biggest challenge right now is not to allow Iran to take over Syria. We are seeing some very worried steps that Iran is doing in order to, to change Syria to be a front line of Iran. We are living here, we are living in the Middle East. We will not let it happen. And if you ask me, of course, I will be very happy that United States and Russia and the international community will not let it happen as well.
What do you consider as your biggest achievement in your 2 years as Justice Minister?
I think that there are many, and the Minister of Justice is a minister that involved almost in everything. I will say that not only by nominate judges, I nominate 230 judges out of 7,500, which is a lot. 700 out of 700, and I think that the justice system today is more diverse. Also, we are doing a good job in changing some, old legal statement regarding old legal statement regarding Judea and Samaria. We are changing it. We are doing now hard work in order to reduce polygamia in the Bedouins in the southern country of Israel. It's also very important. And other social stuff that unfortunately is less interest the media, but are very important as well.
There's been increasing criticism from the right of the Supreme Court and even legislation to limit the powers of the Supreme Court. You've made a reputation for someone who really believes in the rule of law. How would you describe your relationship with the new president of the Supreme Court, Esther Chayut?
We have good cooperation, although we think differently on few subjects. You know, it's not a secret that I think that the Supreme Court took power without authority, and that is too much activist and dealing with the issues of the government or the Knesset. I think there should be lines and borders between the three branches, and this is why I will try to promote a new basic law that will define the relationship between the branches.
Speaking of basic law, there have been a number of laws that critics say indicate an erosion of democracy in Israel, such as the nation-state law that will recognize Israel just as the nation-state of the Jewish people, the NGO law, which you yourself sponsored, and various other laws, including now the recommendations law. What is your response to that?
I'm laughing because none of this law in any way harm the democracy. Israel is a very strong democracy. The law about the NGO is talking about transparency. I think that we all agree that transparency is not against democracy. The law of the recommendation bill is actually a bill that today is, I will say, more or less in orders of the Attorney General. Today there is an order of the Attorney General that the police will not publish its recommendation without his approval. So we are changing it to a law that the police will not publish the recommendation. There are even Supreme Court judges, former Supreme Court Judge Eliakim Rubinstein, Gabriel Bach, they all said that the police should not publish their decision because in the vast majorities of the cases, the prosecution in the end decided to close the case. So, and of course, the nationality bill is something I think that is very pretty obvious. Israel is a Jewish and democratic state. We have like the democratic value in one basic law, and now we want to define the Jewish values on the second law. I think those laws will just make Israel stronger democracy. It's not hurt any democratic values.
It's interesting you should say that because you are the only secular leader in what is a religious party, Bayit Yehudi. Do you feel comfortable in that position?
Yes, of course. You know, the fact that the public chose me, vote for me in an open primaries to be the first on the first place, I think it's a good example of very open public, and I feel totally at home.
Yeah, we have some very high-profile investigations going on against the Prime Minister, David Bitan, and various other people. How do you relate to that? It makes most of the public feel uncomfortable, and I know it's not a comforting question, but as Justice Minister, what is your feeling about that?
I'm feeling uncomfortable as well. I can tell you that I'm feeling also uncomfortable when I see in the news that Bitan, for example, is being investigated in the police, and in the news we are seeing what he said or what his wife said. So I'm feeling, I will say I'm feeling inconvenient because of the investigation and also because of the leaks during the investigations.
Just one personal question. In your Wikipedia entry, it says you're a big fan of Ayn Rand, especially the books Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged. What attracts you to Ayn Rand?
When I read her books, I was a young girl, and it was during the high school and the army, and definitely it influenced, I will say, my views mainly on the economy, free market, free economy, competition. I think that, you know, what the Prime Minister actually just showed, how Israel is such a strong and powerful technology, I will say empire, just show that the government should not interfere in business and technology, because the high-tech in Israel is so successful because the government is not involved in it.
And one final question. You seem such an optimist. How do you see the future of Israel in a year, 2 years, 3 years' time?
Rising. I think, again, the Prime Minister showed a very positive graphs in technology, in cybersecurity, in all the kind of, I would say, high-tech industries that Israel is leading to. Also, we saw that The relationship with the Sunnis moderate countries are being today became stronger and stronger, so I'm very optimistic.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Justice
very
Minister
much.
Ayelet Shaked.
Thank you very much, Justice Minister Shaked. We'll now take a break for lunch.